This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, September 3rd, 2022.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market recap for Saturday, September 3rd, 2022. Hopefully you had a good week. Everyone is doing well. Hopefully you're enjoying your weekend. This is your homework for the weekend. Again, if you're newer to this channel is built for traders who are looking to expand their edge through experience of others who are able to be consistent, generate income, create a business in which you live off trading, or actually just make enough money to choose your other careers wisely. I appreciate everybody and the love that I'm supporting. This channel is growing. And at this point, we're coming in some choppy times. It's September. We got seasonality. We got a lot of things going on. If you're new to the channel, please check out the Discord room. Link is in the description below. Be aware of what's going on. There is a seasonality effect of the beginning of September. Oops. Typically, the first 10 days of the month, watch out, typically rise. If you can't see it, stop by the Discord room. Link is in the description below. It's in the reference articles. Would not be surprised. There is a ton of negativity out there. There's a large ES short, futures short going into the Fed meeting, yada, yada, yada. Again, everything is stacked in one direction. Don't be surprised if at worst it gets choppy with maybe a pop at some point. And the only reason why the pop would make sense is just ultimately what's going on. Market makers are going to do what? Try to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people. And doing such would probably be, at this point, what? A pop. That's what I think potentially is coming. Now, how strong, how big? A lot of people have different opinions. I really don't have an opinion other than what? More people are going to be losing than winning near term, and I doubt that means we're going lower. We could. Now, again, we have to be modest. We have to be acknowledge being wrong, but we are close to I'm actually net positive long right now versus negative with some longer dated shorts with shorter dated upside plays. Sorry if that's confusing. But yes, we'll talk about everything. Let's get into it. Again, grab a cup of coffee, get dialed in, and let's do this. Alexa, turn on lights. So at this point,
okay.
Thank you. Bitcoin, we've said this for a while now. It broke below the channel, but it's holding tight. It's tough to know at this very juncture what's going to happen. If you are long it, make sure you set your stops. If you are short it, make sure you know your reference points. That's all I can really say at this point, because ultimately, this is what can be hard about trading, is you can go sideways for long periods of time. People hate hearing that, but that's the reality of it. Sometimes you have to work off oversold conditions, and the best way to do that is what? Just go sideways. Oil, it seems to be holding around this 86, 87 area. Not surprised. I think we probably are going to be in this chop zone until, I still think at some point the recessionary tendencies of demand destruction take us into the $60 to $70 range, like low 70s potentially. And at this point, you got to be very careful. I would not assume anything in particular. Near term, there's a lot of noise. I'm going to adjust this little sucker. So please be safe out there. If you're long or short, I keep telling people, being short oil, if you want to short it, is just as hard as being long oil, because at this point, there's always a hurricane coming. The seasonality effects are usually down, but there's a lot of geopolitical risk. So whenever in doubt, I tell people less is more. Do not try to overtrade and try to do too many things, because you will find yourself stuck in a pickle at some point. The UUP, near term, it's definitely holding. This 29 level was once resistance. Now over it, I would not be surprised if it backs up just a little bit. We'll see. I could be totally wrong on this ultimately, but that's just the reality of it. Let's see. Let's get in. We got the 120. Sorry, I'm trying to find my monthly chart. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. I guess it's the very bottom one. All right, the monthly. I told folks for a while, this move doesn't end with a demand, like a destruction of the dollar. It ends with a straight line move higher. Now, after this big green month, could it digest? My guessing is you probably got something coming. I just don't know, because I think the Feds are going to try to wiggle their way into what? Raising rates, but also seeming dovish. I don't think they can really do both, but that's the thing. As of right now, they need to make the market feel like they acknowledge their weakness and what's going on. It's a tricky game. Like I said, there's a big short position in the ES. If you go look at sentiment, it is rather bearish. And again, sentiment to me is a big sign of the retail mindset, because again, what do we always say? Smart money's quiet, idiots are shouting. If you sense which version of the money is doing what, you probably think the idiots are shouting right now. And they're bearish. TLT holding range lows. Now again, is this a novice gap? I keep kind of trying to figure this out. I wish I would have gotten some long this on Friday. Did not miss the entrance. Whatever, not the end of the world. Go look at the monthly. Said it's very similar to 2008. Unfortunately, it did not save when I updated my computer. Right before the big kahuna up move in the TLT and the market slammed, you had this consolidation period, and guess what? You had chop into what? Literally November. However, there was some pop into it. I think the base is forming here. I don't think there's much downside to bonds, because everyone's expecting inflation, but I think the economy is probably going to hit the skid so fast that's going to slow. The VIX, I've said this. I can't believe we hit my level literally on Friday and dojied, and now that's hilarious. I still anticipate, I don't think we're going to get up to the upside target zone in the near term. If you are a bull on the VIX, you're okay with the choppy version. Again, I personally love the choppy version step up, because what it allows us to do is to trade it. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to trade this, meaning you can go long and then short and go long, go short. Well, keep in mind, the end move will be the straight line move. I honestly think the VIX into the seasonality probably comes back down 23, maybe 22, 20 day, potentially. Just keep that in mind. Again, still be aware of what's going on. I don't know why this never saved, but keep in mind, here you go. The consolidation before the big up move. You had it in 2008. I think we're going to go much higher at some point. It's just probably not until what? The market's really good at getting people out of position when it's about to do something big. Think about it with gold and silver, maybe your favorite uranium name. They're not going to take it to the moon until what? They knock everybody out. Even though those things will probably hold up really well. The VIX of the Qs, expecting this chop. I don't think we're going to make new highs. I expect it probably to come back to the 20-day, maybe back test the trend line and just chill out. Keep it really simple. The SPY, now here we go. Let's get into this, because I think a lot of people are just getting way too bearish. And remember, the market makers need inventory to sell to the new money that's coming in for the month. It usually comes back after Labor Day, hence the seasonality of the first 10 days of September being bullish. We're at the trend line, close enough to the 0.618. I still think at some point we pop up to 405, 406 maybe. Then we start flopping lower. Because this is what you want. You want this nice, like, choppy action before a bigger drop. And you saw it down here in May, and then you went up what? And then boom. You can see it here in, again, April, same thing. You chopped, then you flopped. You chopped, then you flopped. You got to expect the repeating patterns. As long as the VIX isn't in like 35, 40 area, you're going to get this up and down stuff. And so that's what I was saying. Like, if you want to go long some things as hedges for your shorts, it makes sense to me, because ultimately you can trade around your position. We talked about this endlessly. I still think this is a bear market. I've said this every day, every video. Wave 1, it was just a pullback. Wave 2 here, people think, oh, it's just a correction. You're in wave 3. It's just, remember, the last wave usually is a straight line bomber. And you, honestly, if you are long-term bearish, you want more choppy action. You want what I was saying was like this double top, like right here. Let me close this up. Remove this, apologize, give me a second. You want a pop, and you want like at least something to give the bulls something before you go next lower. You want some choppy action. You want like this action here in April. You want some of this choppy action. So a lot of people don't acknowledge that this is what's going to happen. But I mean, even I hate to say this, but even anywhere, even up into the 415s, draws in more bulls before it goes lower. The Qs. Again, repeating, same thing. At the low end of the trend line, slightly below it. Now what? I think we get at least back to 306. Maybe you get back to the range lows here at 312 in the old trend line. Let me draw that little box for you. Again, if you've been trading with us, you're doing really well. Just if you're ever confused, less is more. Just keep that in mind. Like, you don't have to trade more. You can be a little more risk off. And if that means you're short and you're just going to disappear, or you're going to take some shorts off and look for pops, you don't have to go long. Just keep that in mind. So I hope this helps a lot of people. Again, I mean, I always look at sentiment as what happens when like haters attack my thought process. And usually they're novices because they're like, crap, they don't know. I'm getting a ton of people telling me I'm an idiot for being bullish here. It's like, okay, I'm probably going to be right, because usually at inflection points, near term, sometimes even longer term ones, I get a ton of people just yelling and screaming like, you're crazy. The IWM, here we go, at a support level, probably pops up to 187, maybe 190. Here you go. It's the box. Just keep that in mind. Gold. A lot of people are just, at the lows, I said, look for a bounce down here. You're retesting. Okay. But we're still not seeing the capitulatory action. So if I'm a bull, long term, I want a pop, then a flop, then you can buy. Because the market makers need to do what? They need to wipe everybody out. And the best way to wipe everybody out, like every time else during bear markets going into bull markets, commodities, is what? Slam dance. Here in 2008, you had some nice drop. And nobody expected it, but everyone's like, gold's going to hold up. And it's like, boom. And it happened actually, which is hilarious, in October 2008. Are we in the same cycle? I mean, I'm not anticipating much below the 0.382, but if it gets wiped out, maybe it gets to the 50% fib. Well, maybe the GLD gets to 150. If you were a long-term bull, the more people they get shaken out before the move going higher, I'm telling you, that's bullish. That is way more bullish, because the market loves to get people out of position, so they chase highs. Think about it. Silver, same thing. I mean, I think at worst you're getting down to this 1550 area. And if you go look at the monthly, here you go. Maybe back test this trend line. Maybe just long wick below it. If you are a long-term bull, I'm telling you, be greedy, be thoughtful, though, ultimately, that everybody who gets in early is paving the way for your wins later. Because they're stopping out and getting knocked out is exactly what we want. But people who start rationalizing, well, I'm down 30%, I'm telling you, they might get margin called. They're ultimately going to be right. It's just whether they can hold on. And I'd rather not lose 30% to win something when I can just cherry pick when it's time to get in. People say, you're going to be late. That's fine. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. GDX making new lows. Told you, leave the big miners alone. They are absolute crap. The best time to buy them is, again, when the capitulation, in the first capitulation before the Fed pivots. GDXJ has some decent volume down here, making new lows. I would be watching 27. I mean, I could even see, I'm looking at the monthly. I mean, you could see 25, 26. Here, I'll switch over there. That would be a gift. Now, just keep in mind, if the VIX spikes up into the unreal ranges of insane pricing, there's not going to be any rational floor. Whatever happens could just go right below it to come right back. I hope people are aware of that. That's what makes trading so hard, especially when you're picking bottoms with stuff that's strong during what you consider just wipeout mode. You got to be super careful. Again, we like the GDXJ because it got up to the May highs while GDX had no love. And keep in mind, the next cycle, the juniors are going to get bought up like crazy. AG. Leave it alone. I've got some trend lines here on the monthly. I think, honestly, you're probably going to get there at some point, 5-6 range. Just be patient. Okay? You got to be patient. AEM, I like this name a lot. I still think you might be able to get down into the upper 30s. Check out the daily, y'all. You have volume here. You have volume. You have market makers getting excited about this. Wait for the retest at worst. 38, 39. Set your alarms. Newmont, I've told people, this thing is a dog. It's an absolute dog. People don't realize, man, it didn't save that too. In 2008, as gold was holding up and the miners looked pretty good, it broke below its little trend that it was running in. And wham! And it went much below it. I mean, it went from 39 down to 21. It took a 50% haircut already off the lows. We'll zoom in now to the daily. I mean, it took a haircut off the highs, another 20%. I mean, it's tough to be excited about this thing. I mean, maybe it funnels down here into the low 30s. Again, I'd rather stay away from them because they're going to probably have to buy up companies. And they're going to have to dilute shares. PAAS. As much as I like this company, you got to pass on it for now. You go look at the monthly. I think you see the same thing. You're at the channel lows. Doesn't mean you couldn't come back to 10 or 11. We'll see. Again, if you're thinking long term, I get it. These probably areas might make sense. I'm just not in a rush to buy them. I think there's better opportunities trading the market. LetterX, we have traded this one pretty well. If you don't remember, we bought it down here, sold it up here, and been waiting. Some people bought it, and then traded back up. Cool. I still think at worst, told people when it retested the 200-day, they were like, oh, we'll be fine. I'm like, man, if the market goes lower, this is not going to bounce, go higher. Well, it backs off. It's holding the 50-day. Maybe it bounces and fills some gaps. All these names, long term, they're great commodity names, but you gotta be careful because nothing is safe. I say this all the time. They will throw the baby out with the bathwater. Newmont, very clear. Well, again, I apologize. A lot of my stuff didn't save. I updated my computer and monitors, and it just didn't save. Talked about the retest here. Engulfing bar coming back. Held support at 127, pretty good. Bouncing, just leave it alone. There'll be times. VALE trying to get down into our gap and fill it. Bounced. No rush. CCJ. Now, again, here's the very people would consider controversial. The uranium folks, I'm telling you, you're going to get hit. Nothing's safe. Now, again, fundamentally, you're all right. The fundamentals are strong. No one's going to argue that. Still think you're just going to pull back because throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't like seeing all this big volume at the highs and then backing off, especially against previous highs. You go look at the monthly and people don't realize like you had this choppy cycle in the 2000s before it went. Even in 2000, fine, I'll do it. I was just reluctant to do this. But even in 2008, go look at CCJ monthly. I mean, it just doom. Made no sense. Doom. Down. Arrow, like this copper name, you can see on the daily, it's got some volume. Apologize if I didn't show the CCJ monthly. Just, let me pull it up. I think I may have missed it. Look at this. Wham. It still got hit. Arrow. Daily. Give it here. You have volume at the lows. Keep this on your watch list. It's probably going to go to the 8 and 7s. I'm going to say this over and over and over. When the VIX spikes to insanely high levels, do not ever be surprised that the support resistance that we expect to hold gets violated. Violated badly, but it's all temporary. That's what makes it so hard. Mosaic, talked about this. Being a sell, came back to the 200-day. Nice little bounce. My friend, can't remember who shorted CF, but he's like, hey, isn't this a 3-gap trap with the doji? I was like, yeah. I didn't short it, but I was like, he asked me if you should. I said, you know what? I don't think you can go wrong. 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gaps, boom. Now it pulls back, holds support. Not surprised it's bouncing. This is a strong stock. We've talked about this one many times. At the lows, you had volume. Don't be surprised you come back to the 80 level. That's where it becomes supported. How, why, when, I don't know. It just always seems to do those kind of things. Let's get into the tech sector. AM a dizzy. Here you go. Getting back down to range lows. Is this a novice gap? Probably going to rally. How strong? I mean, probably put yourself in the position the 90 level. That still would be a 10% move. Probably worth the risk. Maybe not. If you want, you can just play the SMH. That's what I'm doing. Holding prior support, back test of a trend line, doji making a higher low today on Friday. Look at that volume. I'm telling you, somebody is accumulating the SMH, and maybe it's the market maker just ready to play a game of flip it up to sell higher. Something's going on there. Hopefully you can see that. It's holding up. Like keep note of that. Usually I don't do NVIDIA, but let's just pull it up. It broke below the lows. And look at that long wick. It didn't make a new low on Friday. Red alert, red alert, red alert. Tech seems to be holding up here. And not great, but just making higher highs or higher lows. Apple, same thing. Touched 155 on the dot, made a higher low. Keep that in your watch list. All these names are probably due to bounce. Microsoft, same thing. I bought some more on Friday, layering in. Made a slightly lower low, but at the close had some decent volume. They got a $22 billion contract after the close. Not surprised. You go look at the 10-minute. Somebody knew something. Somebody knew something at the end of the day. You can see it. Here, I'll just zoom it in there. Somebody knew something. Somebody knew something. And we'll see if it matters or not. I mean, keep that in mind. I mean, ultimately, that stuff, whether it matters or not, we'll see. But we're at points on the charts where it just makes sense to me that we should hold. Like this chop zone is major support. Just like when we got here in April, it went right into it, slightly below it, and then popped. And it popped 294 from 266. Or sorry, 270. Not a bad risk reward. I still think we can do a pop. And if we pop, the risk reward is what? Probably at worst filling this gap. Not bad. 255 to 270 plus, maybe. Know your risk reward. CRM kind of recommended this one. It went below, popped up, holding up at the channel lows. Again, if you want this to break, they played this game previously. Let me see where oh gosh, sorry, I moved the fib. Come on, fibber. You'll see repeating patterns. Here you go. Broke below it, went from 245 and then popped up to 260 before it eventually broke. And you had the support here. I think that's what's going to happen here. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but this zone, I'm telling you right now, the best way to trap long-term bulls would be to what? Pull these names right back up from support and it gets people just to go, well, you know what? I'll just let it run. Let me run through a few of the other tech names. Google, holding tight. I think it pops. How high? You do your own homework. Amazon, think the same kind of thing. You're getting close to what I would consider like a reference area. You can also see it. Again, I apologize. My charts did not save. Somewhere around in here, it makes sense if it pops. Even if it's just 10 points, it probably is going to pop. Netflix was holding up pretty well this week. I mean, actually really well, which, again, surprising. Look at this action. Holding up really well, right? Meta. That thing held up really well this week. Considering a lot of tech is closing nearer the lows, this one held up, right? Just all it did was fill its gap at the close. We'll see. Hopefully you're seeing the picture being painted of this stuff. Tesla. Now this one doesn't look that great, but we're coming into what? Support on the moving averages, right? I'd be curious to draw a little Fibonacci. Okay, between the 0.382 and the 0.5. I mean, at this point, let me get this out of the way. Apologize. Here's the support from this candle right here. You got some areas that I'd be watching. Now, again, I'm not bullish long-term on the stock. Absolutely not. But I do know what it does. It draws in people. And so if you had to take a guess, how high could it pop? I mean, 280s. Again, 20 points. All of this stuff is just whether you reference you want to trade it or not. Roadblocks. I was watching this on Friday. Look at this. Did not make a new low. At the highs, and we told you, time to get out. And the market went lower. Look, now it's basing. Look at these wicks. Something is going on. If you can't see it in the charts, then you're bearish and you're just bearish. I get it. Let's even throw MicroStrategy in there because I was watching this guy getting tight action after a decent drop. I mean, it went from 360 down to 218. Telling you, I think there's some buyers about to show up. We'll see what happens. At this point, just please be safe. All right. XBI. Check this out. Talked about this usually leads higher lows, higher highs. I know the candle's red, but that's higher highs and higher lows. Keep in mind, I think it probably bounces at worst to 90. Put all this stuff in your mind and think about it, okay? It's really easy to get bearish when everything's bearish around you. UTHR had some news, been pretty wild and sloppy. I've told people if you did not take any profits, your profits might get taken. It might pop. Again, to me, the easy money's done. We talked about, man, nothing's saved. Or not everything saved. Talked about this being a buy point. Talked about the support resistance being a buy point. Talked about hitting the upper channel on the monthly. You hit it. Now it's like a complex head and shoulders. The easy trade's over. EXPI, throw this in the trash. It's a company I work for. Company stock, it's like a lottery ticket. People go fundamentals. And it's like, if fundamentals matter, the stock would be probably at least in the 50s, considering that we've now grown to the third largest brokerage in the world. Doesn't matter. NDAQ, here's another one. Put this on your short list when it didn't save. So frustrating. Let me just draw it for you. Approximately there. You hit the channel high. Probably going to bounce a little bit. When this fails, it turns into a waterfall. But keep along the way. There's chop in there, right? There could be some chop in there. I still think this thing gets absolutely slaughtered. This is the Coinbase of the NASDAQ. Essentially, this is the NASDAQ exchange. I don't think it's going to hold up. I'm drawing on the fly. Come on, homie. Let's draw this. Okay. We'll see what happens. I think you'll get, just set your alarm. I mean, go through the charts, draw it, look at it. Go, all right, if I see NDAQ over, 6175, I would guess, I'd look at that. I would absolutely look at that and just be thoughtful about what. All right, it's probably going lower, but it needs to pop first. I'm taking notes at charts, alarms, trades. Again, because what I like to do is tee all this stuff up in my trade platform. So when it is time to buy my shorts, I'm not scrambling to think about what puts or what I'm going to short. It should be very, very simple. Let's get into financials. Again, here you go. Making higher lows, making higher highs today. Technically, that's not bearish, right? In a downtrend, you're making lower lows and lower highs. Here's your pivot point. Here's, just because it's red, I know. Morgan Stanley. This was green on Friday. Look at this action. That doesn't look that bearish to me. It popped up and held. Man, I would love to see this at the 200-day. We'll see. JP Morgan, member there, the easy short in my opinion, or a shorting FAS. No buyback, but even then, high or low. You guys seeing things here. As you go through all the charts, you start going, everything doesn't look as bullish as thought. Let's end it with oil, as always. If oil's down, is the market going to like it? Is CPI going to be negative month over month? Probably. And again, even though it'll be 7% year over year, look at that. Back at the 200-day. It probably bounces, though. I mean, we'll see. Natural gas. We talked about this being a bull trap. Look above, fail. Now what? Probably holds tight. And keep in mind, with even the news in Europe, I mean, natural gas is not holding up that well. But there is going to be a point where the market is probably going to like that near term, even if it means ultimately, yes, we are right about demand destruction. XOP, I still think at some point you're going to hit a pop and then you can short it by the drip. Probably somewhere in the drip in the 14s or 13s would be ideal. You might not get 13s. 14s would be probably about as low as you go. Let's end it on Exxon Mobil. Talked about the shorting up here. Man, it didn't save. It filled this gap here. Let me open that up. Looked above the 100 level. Talked about it getting down to the 20-day and this like old channel. Got there. Now it's bouncing up. Again, it not professional gap and hold up. Things you don't see if the market looks like it's going to turn over. So I hope this stuff really helps you see like why I think we're probably going to be bullish for a couple days at worst. Do we run up into the Fed meeting? I really don't know. However, if you have questions, again, stop by the Discord room. Take notes, though. I appreciate everybody. And again, if you are making money, please, we've talked about this. Take money out. This is a what? This is how you get rich. And you don't get rich from having the biggest trading account. You got to take money out of the market. At some point, you have to pay yourself. You have to pay taxes. And you have to do what? You have to start investing, I would argue, in real estate. Buy your silver, gold, and all your other hedges, no doubt. No one's ever going to, I'm not ever going to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Because gold and silver are pretty cheap to me. I think inflation and materials bull market is coming. But also, housing is going to hold up because people need places to live. If people aren't buying, they're renting. And if they're not buying and they're renting, then usually the prices will go up in rentals. Even though your house price might depreciate or lose 5 to 10%, I don't know. But there's tons of tax advantages. If you don't have to sell and someone's paying the mortgage, that's just the goal. That is ultimate goal, because you don't have to marry the interest rate. I think at some point you will get lower interest rates. It might be for a couple of years. I don't know. But I still think 6%, 5, 6, 7% is still historically low. That's what I grew up on. So if you have any questions, again, check out the Discord room, link in the description below. Check out my information, danmaxrealty.com. Drop me a DM, whatever you need. Just don't sit here and go, well, I just want to be in cash for the next 5 years trading, or that your purchasing power is like somehow sustainable, because it's not. You have to buy things with it, but you have to buy assets that are going to appreciate. Don't buy cars. Don't buy depreciating assets, okay? I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Hit me up if you have any questions. I'll be in the Discord room. I'll be around all weekend. Love you guys. Take care. Peace out.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.